Hello and welcome to Fall Asleep To. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more relaxing deep dives into fascinating topics. It really helps support the channel. Also leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time it is right now. We love hearing from you. Imagine waking up to the chill of a Paleolithic dawn, the sky still heavy with mist, the ground cold beneath layers of animal hide. You are a Neanderthal, an ancient human, robust and resourceful, living tens of thousands of years ago in a world that is both beautiful and brutal. Your mind is sharp, your body strong, and your life filled with both wonder and danger. Today will be unlike any other, filled with strange moments that highlight the complexities of Neanderthal life, revealing that this long-lost cousin of ours was far more human than we often imagine. To begin understanding a bizarre day in the life of a Neanderthal, we must first understand the world in which they lived. The Pleistocene epoch, stretching from about 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, was a time of great climatic fluctuation. Massive glaciers blanketed much of Europe and Asia during the Ice Ages, advancing and retreating like slow, grinding waves. In the regions not covered in ice, sprawling grasslands, dense forests, and rugged mountains created a patchwork of habitats teeming with life. Mammoths roamed the tundra, saber-toothed cats stalked the underbrush, and Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, thrived in the challenging conditions of Ice seen just days ago. You're not part of the hunting group, not today. Your task is to help repair some of the group's tools. Obsidian blades dulled by winter's work, and bone needles used for stitching hide garments. But before the day begins in earnest, the group shares a small meal. It consists of dried meat, maybe ibex, and fat-rich marrow scooped from a cracked femur. There may even be remnants of wild tubers or nuts gathered and preserved. It's not a feast, but it's enough to provide the energy needed to face the day. Around mid-morning, something unusual happens. A child, no older than 6, returns from outside the cave carrying an object unlike anything you've ever seen. It is a large, perfectly round stone, not native to this area, engraved with a series of grooves and markings. It's heavy and worn smooth by water, perhaps from a distant river. The markings are deliberate. You gather around. Some in the group exchange glances. The child says it was found near a half-frozen stream beneath a fallen tree. What could it be? To us, this might seem like nothing more than a decorated rock. But for the Neanderthals, it could have held profound meaning. Archaeologists have discovered that Neanderthals occasionally collected unusual objects, fossils, crystals, even bird feathers. This suggests an aesthetic or symbolic sense, perhaps even spiritual beliefs. The engraved stone may have been a talisman, a marker, or a relic from a neighboring group. The elders murmur in hushed tones. One of the women who lost a child during the previous winter gently takes the stone and places it in a woven pouch tied to her waist. It may become part of a ritual, or it may simply be admired for its beauty. Regardless, the mood in the cave has shifted. The stone has brought with it a sense of mystery and perhaps even reverence. As the day unfolds, you and a companion walk out to the perimeter of the group's territory to gather village rocks, mingling with the calls of crows circling overhead. Later in the afternoon, another bizarre moment arises. A loud crack echoes through the valley. Not thunder, something else. You look up to see a plume of smoke rising from the ridge, more than what a cooking fire would produce. The hunters haven't returned. There's tension in the group. Could it be a fire sparked by lightning or something worse? Cautiously, a few adults set out to investigate, leaving the rest to tend the children and guard the cave. Hours pass. The light begins to fade. When they return, they carry with them an unexpected sight. A burned log, charred and hollow, with a strange honey-like scent. Inside, the remains of a massive bee nest. It seems a wildfire, perhaps caused by lightning or a sudden sun-heated flare in dry underbrush, had exposed a hidden hive in the forest. They brought it back not out of danger, but delight. The sticky, golden substance inside is unlike anything most have tasted. Neanderthals likely had a sweet tooth, just like us. Honey is rare and highly prized. Tonight it is shared among the group, a small golden feast, savoured with reverence. Even the infants are allowed a taste. It is a joyous and bizarre reward from an otherwise unpredictable day. As night falls, the group gathers around the fire. Shadows dance on the limestone walls. One of the elders begins to hum a low, rhythmic sound. Others join in. There is no language as we know it, but there is communication. Perhaps a form of proto-song, perhaps storytelling through gesture, tone, and facial expression. The youngest lean in, eyes wide. In this moment, surrounded by flickering light and ancient melody, you understand something profound. Those separated There is no cause for panic. Hunts often take more than a day, especially in early spring when herds are unpredictable. But the absence is felt. The cave is quieter, the energy subdued. You join a small group heading to a known flint outcrop several kilometers away. The journey is long but necessary. Flint is the lifeblood of your tools, cutting, scraping, hunting, defending. Along the way, you follow ancient game trails, stepping over gnarled roots and loose stones, always alert for predators, wolves, big cats, even other humans. Yes, other humans. Because during this time, the world is not just populated by Neanderthals. There are others. Homo sapiens. Though rare in these parts, there have been stories, fleeting encounters, shadows on the hills, strange markings on trees, fire in the night where no fire should be. Some say the sapiens are smaller but quicker, their tools different, their speech strange. They don't always fight, but they are not to be trusted. Today, as you reach the flint site, something strange confirms the rumors. Someone has been here recently. There's fresh chipping on the rock face, scattered flakes of a different type, smoother, thinner. The craftsmanship is unlike your own. You recognize the technique. It's not Neanderthal, it's sapiens. They've taken from your source. There's no immediate threat, but the tension among your group is palpable. You look at each other, silently agreeing not to linger. You gather what you can and begin the trek home, wary of being watched. That evening, the group gathers in discussion. Not argument, but concern. What should be done if these other humans return? Should the cave be moved? Should scouts be sent? The matriarch speaks in slow, rhythmic tones. Her voice is soothing, but serious. She remembers a time, many years ago, when contact with another group led to violence. But then another elder chimes in, a man who once exchanged shells with a distant band of sapiens. They had traded meat for ochre. Ochre, yes, that strange red powder. It's used in burial rituals, sometimes painted on skin, sometimes blown across cave walls. He holds up a piece of ochre now, a gift, or perhaps a relic from that meeting. The message is clear. Not all sapiens are enemies, but the unease remains. That night something bizarre happens again. A storm rolls in, The sound of voices, not your own. When morning comes, the scouts set off quickly. You stay behind, tasked with repairing a broken spear shaft. As you work, you reflect on the fragility of everything. A simple crack in wood can mean the difference between a successful hunt and starvation. A single misstep on the trail can be fatal. Around midday, the scouts return with news. They found the source of the fire, not a threat, not sapiens. The hunting party has returned, but with them is a stranger. This is the most bizarre moment yet. The man is not Neanderthal. He is sapiens, wounded, weak, alone. He was found half conscious near a riverbank, soaked and shivering with a deep gash in his leg. The hunters debated what to do, but ultimately they brought him back. Now he lies wrapped in hides near the fire, eyes flickering open, then closing. His features are strange, more narrow. His nose, his jaw, his body is lean, less robust, but he is alive, and he is human. There is silence in the cave as people gather around. No one speaks. The fire crackles. You stare at him, and he stares back. Two worlds have collided. What happens next could change everything. The cave is quieter than usual. The kind of silence that only emerges when something completely unexpected shatters the ordinary rhythm of life. Everyone is still adjusting to the presence of the strange man. Homo sapiens, unmistakably different, yet undeniably human. Even the children are quiet, peeking at him from behind their parents' legs, wide-eyed and curious. He doesn't speak in a way you understand. His sounds are lighter, his rhythm faster. But he gestures, he nods. He accepts food when it's offered and winces when his injured leg is touched. The gash is deep, likely caused by a fall onto sharp rock, or perhaps by a wild animal. You're not sure, but you recognize pain, and so does the group. Despite their initial suspicion, the elders have allowed him to stay, at least until he recovers. A few of the younger Neanderthals, curious and bold, try mimicking his sounds. He laughs softly, an unfamiliar sound, almost musical. You try to imagine what his life must have been like before this moment. Where did he come from? Did he have a group like yours? Was he part of a family? Or had something gone terribly wrong? The matriarch approaches the fire and begins mixing crushed moss and pine resin with warm water. A poultice. Carefully, she
she applies it to the stranger's wound. He flinches, then relaxes. You watch him closely. His eyes do not show fear, only exhaustion. Over the next few days, an unspoken truce settles in. He helps where he can, passing stones, gathering sticks for the fire, showing surprising awareness of group behavior. He even mimics the Neanderthal way of flaking flint, though his style is different. More refined, he demonstrates how he shapes slender blades from prepared cores, a technique unfamiliar to your group. You're intrigued. In return, he watches your people.
Repair tools, tend the fire, prepare marrow bones. It becomes a subtle exchange of knowledge, quiet but meaningful. And then comes another bizarre moment. During one of the calmer evenings, while everyone gathers near the fire, the stranger stands and produces something small from his satchel, a length of cord made from twisted plant fibers, dyed with what looks like red ochre. At the center is a pierced seashell. It's clearly meant to be worn. A necklace. He gestures, then kneels and offers it to the matriarch. There's a long pause. No one moves. The matriarch, with quiet grace, accepts it. This is not just a gift, it's a message, a sign of respect, of peace, maybe even of gratitude. And just like that, the atmosphere in the cave changes. From this point on, the sapiens man becomes part of the group. Temporary, perhaps, but welcomed. He shares more of his ways. He demonstrates how to use a throwing stick, a primitive atlatl, to hurl spears farther with less force. It's a revelation. Your people are strong, built for close-range power, but this new method opens new possibilities. The hunters take note. He also introduces new sounds, his words. The matriarch listens, mimics, and he, in turn, begins to understand some of yours. Communication grows, slowly, imperfectly, but it grows. Soon, others in the group begin showing him their own creations. A decorated bone flute, a carved stone with notches, a figurine of a bear etched into wood. The sapiens man seems fascinated. His eyes shine with recognition. These are not tools. These are expressions. And he understands. In one quiet moment, he takes charcoal from the fire and walks to the cave wall. Then, using his finger, he begins to draw. At first, it's unclear, but as the shapes take form, the group gathers around. You see it now. A herd of deer, a mountain, a spiral sun, a river, a story told without words. You are witnessing cave art, not just for decoration, but for memory, for meaning, for sharing. One of the children, inspired, picks up a piece of burnt wood and begins drawing next to him. This strange day, this bizarre week, is transforming what you thought possible. But the change is not only social. The world outside is shifting too. The snow is mostly gone now, revealing muddy trails and blooming plants. With the melt comes movement. Herds of bison are spotted near the western ridges. The time for another great hunt is near, but this one will be different. The group decides to try the sapiens method, using the throwing stick. Practice begins near the stream. Targets are set up. Spear after spear flies farther than before. Some min, others strike deep into bark. Adaptation. It is the Neanderthal's greatest strength, and now it merges with something new. That night, while the fire dances across stone and the air smells of smoke and pine, you can't help but feel it. This day, this strange encounter may mark a turning point, not just for your group, but for something much bigger. A convergence of worlds, a meeting of minds, a glimpse into a shared future that neither species can yet comprehend. In the shadows of the cave, humanity is finding itself, piece by piece, spark by spark, and the day isn't over yet. The sun rises slowly, spilling golden light across the cave mouth. It's warmer today, the kind of warmth that hints at summer's approach. The air smells of damp earth and budding leaves. For the first time in weeks, the fire is allowed to burn low. Its heat is no longer essential. Outside, the forest hums with life. Insects buzz. Birds call to each other through the trees. And somewhere far off, a low, rolling sound, possibly the distant bellow of bison. Inside the cave, something quietly extraordinary is happening. The sapiens man, now fully recovered from his injury, is demonstrating another strange innovation. String. He weaves thin strands of plant fiber between his fingers, twisting them tightly until they become a cord. Strong, flexible, durable. The Neanderthals gather around, captivated. They've used sinew and rawhide before, but this is finer, more precise. He shows them how to find tools with this new string, improving stability. He creates a small sling for The end. 2. Fall. It's a success. More than success. It's a revelation. The new tool has changed everything. Safer distance. Greater force. Less risk. You process the kill with reverence. The bison are thanked. Not in words, but in touch, in gesture, in the way their bodies are handled. Nothing will be wasted. Meat, bone, sinew, hide, horn, all will serve the group. As you return, carrying your portion of meat on a travois made from branches and rope, the sense of unity is overwhelming. You feel connected not just to your people, but to the land, the animals, and now to the stranger who brought new ways. When you arrive, the sapiens man meets you with a smile and a new surprise. On a flat slab of stone near the fire, he's created a simple map. It's not exact, it's symbolic, but the markings, lines, shapes, dots, correspond to the landscape around the cave. A winding line for the river, a curve for the gorge, a cluster of dots for the valley where the bison were found. He points at the map, then at the mountains beyond. You realize he's trying to share something, perhaps the location of his people, or another source of food, or something else entirely, but it's communication, a visual language. That evening, your group tries to copy the idea. A young girl scratches a drawing into the dirt. Your cave, the fire pit, and a trail of footprints leading to the hunt site. Laughter follows. It's crude, but it's a beginning. Once told only by voice or gesture, are now being drawn, recorded. Later, as you eat together, the cave is filled with warmth, not just from the fire, but from the shared silence, the quiet presence of others, the glow of understanding. You feel it again, the bizarre beauty of this day, from strangers to companions, from isolation to exchange, from survival to something more. As night deepens, the stars appear above the cave like ancient sentinels. You lie on your back, watching them blink into view one by one. Somewhere among them are the same constellations that modern humans will name thousands of years later. But here, in this moment, the stars are simply there, unexplained, mysterious, eternal, and as your eyes drift shut, you think not of fear, or hunger, or even survival. You think of the map, the net, the drawing, the laughter,
pulse beneath every movement. The shared experience with the sapiens man has left a lasting imprint, no longer simply a guest or an outsider. He is now a teacher, a collaborator, and in many ways, a mirror. As you step outside into the morning light, a new plan is forming. The matriarch has decided that part of the group will explore deeper into the gorge to examine a rocky outcrop seen in the distance, a place rumored to have a waterfall and shelter if the main cave
becomes threatened, or if the herds begin to move further away, it could serve as a second site. And perhaps, just perhaps, it might hold secrets of its own. The sapiens man volunteers to lead the way. You and 4 others follow. The journey takes most of the morning. You cross a shallow stream filled with icy meltwater and pass a grove of trees alive with bird chatter. Along the way, you notice strange patterns in the landscape, lines of flattened grass, trees with bark deliberately stripped, piles of stones that are too neatly stacked to be natural. You exchange glances. These signs are familiar, not Neanderthal, but sapien. You are entering their territory, but the atmosphere is not hostile. There are no warnings, no traps, just signs of passage. Eventually, you arrive at the gorge, and there, hidden behind a thicket of wild brush, is something astonishing. A cave. But not just any cave. This one is alive with colour. Red, black, and ochre marks stretch across the walls in swirling patterns. There are animal forms, bison, deer, horses, and abstract symbols that resemble stars or spirals. One wall shows a series of handprints pressed into the stone like whispers from another time. The sapiens man watches your group closely. He doesn't speak, but his eyes reveal what this place means to him. It's sacred. You explore slowly, reverently. One of your companions finds a bundle of dried plants tied with sinew, a kind of bundle that may be ceremonial. Another discovers what looks like a sleeping nook, smoothed by long youth. You are not the first to visit here, and perhaps you will not be the last. As you step back into the sunlight, you feel changed. The art, the symbol, the silence, it all lingers inside you. The return to your main cave is quiet, thoughtful. That night, the group listens as you describe what you saw. Even the children fall silent. The matriarch looks at the sapiens man and nods once. Slowly, she understands. The world is bigger than it seems. In the days that follow, the group begins to experiment. The younger members mix crushed red rocks with Do you leave, move deeper into the mountains, or stay and defend what is now home? The matriarch listens to all voices. Then, in a rare moment of open dialogue, she turns to the sapiens man and gestures. What would they do? He pauses, then draws 2 lines in the dirt, 2 paths diverging. At the intersection, he places a handprint, choice, peace or conflict. His message is simple. If your group shows openness, perhaps theirs will too. But there is no guarantee. You decide to send an offering, a pouch of dried meat, a carved figurine, and a shell necklace. These are left at a known landmark near the flint site, carefully arranged for visibility. Then you wait. 2 days pass, and then an answer. The offering is gone. In its place, a small pile of fire-hardened arrow tips, wrapped in bark, and a single feather. A reply. Not hostile, not aggressive. You don't know exactly what it means, but you feel it deep in your bones. The world is changing. The lines between Neanderthal and sapiens are not as solid as once believed. There is space, just barely, for something new. Not war, not surrender. Something else. That night, as you lie in your spot near the fire, the stars wheel above you in their silent dance. You close your eyes and imagine 2 hands, one Neanderthal, one sapiens, pressing side by side into the stone. 2 stories, one future. Spring gives way to early summer, and with the passing of the days, the forest surrounding the cave grows thick with life. Trees are dense with leaves, rivers run fast with glacial melt, and berries and wild herbs begin to appear in the underbrush. This is a season of plenty, but it is also fleeting. Each moment must be used wisely. The cave has changed. Where once the walls were bare, they are now alive with color and shape, animals, symbols, the flow of time captured in crude but purposeful strokes. The fire is maintained more carefully now. A new type of hearth, built with layered stone, reflects heat better and allows for easier cooking. The sapiens man, still living among you, has begun building something new, a shelter just outside the main cave. It's made with bent branches, tied with sinew and string, then covered in hides. It's not that he wishes to leave the cave, but perhaps he is recreating something from his own people. Perhaps it is his way of making a mark, building a space that blends both your ways and his. You help him build it. The process is strange, but collaborative. You learn how tension can be used for strength, how thin branches, when bent and bound, hold weight better than you expected. This is a different kind of architecture, not just functional, but portable, movable. It is, perhaps, the hint of how his people live, always roaming, bleached by time, but clearly human. You call the others. The matriarch comes, kneels beside it, and begins brushing away the dirt. There are beads around the neck, carefully placed stones nearby, a curved tool still clutched in one hand, a burial. The remains are Neanderthal. It's not someone from your group, perhaps from a generation long gone, but someone cared enough to bury them here, to mark the passing with objects and order. There is reverence in the placement, intention. It is a reminder that long before today, others lived, laughed, hunted, feared, dreamed. The sapiens man stands silently nearby. He kneels too and places one of his handmade cords beside the bones. A simple gesture, a bridge of respect across tens of thousands of years. The burial is covered again, not as it was before, but with a ring of stones placed by the group. A marker, a memory. Back at the cave, the day continues, but with a reflective tone. The children ask questions in their own way. The elders speak of stories passed down. The matriarch hums a melody that has no words, but carries the weight of history. And then, another surprise. A child, no older than 5, presents a carved figure. It is crude, made from soft wood, but clearly shaped into something with meaning. A mix of human and animal, with wide eyes and long limbs. You're not sure what it is. Perhaps a spirit, a guardian, a dream. The matriarch examines it, nods, and places it near the fire. And just like that, the cave has a new symbol, not just a tool or a weapon, but a creation born entirely from imagination. This is something new, a leap. The sapiens man sees it too. He smiles and begins carving his own figure, this one of a bird, wings spread in flight. The children are delighted. They begin making their own. Soon, the cave is filled with these small, silent sentinels, figures that may represent stories no one can yet explain. That evening, as the firelight flickers across these new creations, the group gathers, and someone begins to drum. It's not a drum in the modern sense, but a hollow log struck rhythmically with a stick. Others join in, clapping stones, snapping branches, stomping feet. A rhythm builds. The sapiens man adds a whistle from a bone is as though the group, once caught in a pattern of survival and necessity, has begun to live with a new kind of consciousness, a slower, more reflective tempo. You feel it in the way people move, the way they speak, the way their eyes linger on the flame long after night has fallen. The strange and improbable integration of the sapiens man has shifted not just your tools and tactics, but your very perception of time and place. Each day is no longer just a repetition of the last, but a thread in a growing story, one you are learning to tell, not just through words or gestures, but through craft, through symbols, through memory. The summer warmth has brought with it abundance. Berries, roots, fish from the river, all gatherable within walking distance. Hunting is still necessary, but the urgency has ebbed. For now, the group spends more time together, not just working or gathering, but simply being, sitting, observing, whispering stories to the children, watching the clouds. It is in this quiet period that you begin to notice how different members of your group hold knowledge in unique ways. One elder knows the paths of the migrating herds. Another understands the language of birds. A younger woman, barely more than a girl, can imitate the call of a fox so perfectly that it once caused a real one to come sniffing around the camp. And then there is the sapiens man, still an outsider in appearance, but no longer in spirit. He spends hours every day collecting plants, testing their reactions with fire, with fat, with water. He makes a paste that numbs the skin, a powder that repels insects, a salve that soothes burns. You begin to realize that he has brought with him not only new tools, but a new kind of knowledge, a systematic curiosity. He tests, he fails, he tries again, and each attempt is observed with fascination by your people, who begin to imitate the process, not just the results. One day, a remarkable discovery is made. Near the riverbank, a child finds a small pocket of clay. At first, it is simply something to squeeze between fingers, something to shape idly while sitting in the sun. But soon, shapes emerge. Simple bowls, thumb-sized animals, imitations of the carved wooden figures back in the cave. And then, by accident or intuition, one of these objects is placed too close to the fire. The next morning, it is found hardened, its shape preserved, its surface toughened. The implications are vast. You could now shape objects and make them last. You could store awe. The figures, once soft and pliable, now rest solid and real beside the fire. They hold weight, presence. You pick one up, a tiny figure shaped like a crouched hunter, and marvel at the permanence of it. This object may outlast your own bones. It may lie buried for tens of thousands of years, waiting to be found by others who will wonder who made it and why. As the fire dies down, the stars appear once more, shimmering in endless patterns above the cave. You trace the constellations with your eyes, wondering what stories lie hidden among them. You have no words for universe or galaxy, but you feel something stir when you look up. The same feeling you had when the first cave drawings were made, when the burial site was found, when the sapient man placed his necklace in the matriarch's hands. You feel connected, not just to your people, not just to the land, but to time itself. The next morning, the sky turns grey with storm clouds, and a wind rises that sets the trees to moaning. Rain begins as a gentle mist, but quickly escalates into a full deluge. Water pounds against the rocks, and the river swells with sudden violence. You and the others scramble to secure the hides covering the cave entrance, to move supplies further inland, to dig channels for runoff before the floor turns to mud. As you work, you notice the sapiens man doing something strange. He is placing stones in the mud, carefully, methodically, building a small wall to divert the flowing water. You mimic him. Others join, and slowly the torrent is guided away from the cave mouth. You are witnessing and participating in something entirely new, the beginnings of infrastructure, not merely reacting to nature, but shaping your environment to serve your needs. Later, as the rain continues to fall and the cave fills with the sounds of dripping and crackling and soft whispers, the matriarch speaks. Her voice is old and dry, but strong. She tells a story, one she has told before, but it feels different now. She speaks of the first fire, of the animal who carried it in its tail, of the woman who caught it and brought it to her people, of how fire made humans different from the animals, how it gave them light in darkness and warmth in winter, and the ability to see the spirits in the shadows. And as she speaks, you look around the cave at the children, now shaping clay birds, at the sapiens man, sharpening a stone blade with his now familiar tools, at the elders, eyes shining with memory and curiosity. And you realize the story isn't just myth, it's metaphor. Your group has captured a new kind of fire, one not of flame, but of mind, the fire of knowledge. Days pass, and the memory of the storm slowly fades into the rhythm of a renewed world. The rain, once violent and consuming, has given way to a lush stillness. The landscape has transformed. Pools of water glisten in the lowland valleys, feeding vibrant growth along their edges. Ferns unfurl, flowers bloom, birds return with song. The air is thick with scent, wet bark, sweet pollen, and the rich musk of damp earth. You awaken to this verdant silence and step outside the cave to find the land reborn. But your mind is not on the rain or the flowers. It lingers on the fire from within, the growing understanding that your people are changing, that you are not simply adapting to the world, but beginning to shape it. This morning, you walk with the sapiens man beyond the river, toward the distant hills where white stone juts from the earth like the bones of some forgotten giant. He carries a pouch filled with tools, and you carry dried meat and a few gifts. This journey has a purpose, one of communication, of diplomacy. A week ago, your offering had been accepted. A reply had been given. And now the two of you return not in fear or defiance, but with intent to meet. You do not know what to expect. The trail winds through tall grasses and craggy rocks, through whispering groves of trees. You pass the spot where the clay was first discovered, and the little altar of figurines left behind by the children as a game or a prayer. They sit there still, weathered but standing. After many hours, you come to a ridge, and there, silhouetted against the sky, are 5 figures. Sapiens. Your companion raises his hand, not as a threat, but in greeting. One of them mirrors the gesture. The meeting is wordless at first. You approach slowly, observing every twitch of movement, every hand on every spear. These people are younger than your group, leaner, faster, covered in beads and small feathers. They smell of smoke and dry grass and crushed herbs. Their faces are painted with ochre, but in their eyes is no hatred, only caution and curiosity. The sapiens man who has lived with you steps forward. He produces from his pouch a token, a carving made in your cave, a creature half bird, half man, burnished with fat and ash. He places it on a flat stone between the 2 groups. The others exchange glances. Then a woman, tall, with hair bound in plaited cords, steps forward
places a strand of beaded fiber beside it. It is a gesture of trust, of equal standing. You watch as the two items sit side by side in the sunlight. Two pieces of two worlds now beginning to braid into one. There is no need for more. The message is received. The groups retreat slowly, with dignity. Nothing more is said. But the door is open. When you return to the cave that night, your people gather in tight formation to hear what happened. The matriarch listens without interruption. When your companion shows the strand of beads, her expression does not change, but her silence deepens, as if she is measuring something too vast to be spoken aloud. Later, after the others have fallen asleep, she calls you to sit beside the fire. Her hands are warm and gnarled, her face traced with lines etched by decades of snow and sun. She tells you something rare, something she has never told anyone before. She
speaks of a vision she had when she was young, of a tree that reached into the sky, so tall it touched the stars, and beneath it, two people stood, one large and thick and strong, one small and fast and curious. They looked different, but they each held a flame, and with it they lit the same fire. She never understood it, until now. In the morning, she rises before dawn and begins preparing for something unusual. She instructs others to gather stones, not for hunting, not for building, but for arranging. She draws a great circle near the cave's edge, and within it places carved figures, bundles of herbs, beads, bones, feathers, bits of painted bark. A ritual, not of mourning, not of war, but of recognition. Your people are no longer simply Neanderthals surviving another season. You are now something more, something unfolding. The boundaries between peoples, between thought and tradition, between past and future, are beginning to blur. The ritual begins in the late afternoon. Everyone gathers, young and old, strong and frail. The fire is stoked, and smoke curls into the sky like a language of its own. The matriarch chants, slow and rhythmic, speaking names of ancestors. The children beat sticks on logs in simple, echoing cadence. The sapiens man is invited to place something in the circle. He chooses the original necklace he had given to the matriarch many weeks ago, now re-gifted to the group. As the sun begins to set, its light pours through the trees in golden shafts, illuminating the stone circle. Shadows stretch and dance. The air is heavy with ash and pine, and the smell of burning resin. You step forward and place your own offering, a flake of flint, knapped with your own hands, tied with the first cord you ever made from his technique. It's a bridge, a synthesis of who you were and who you are becoming. The group is silent as the last light fades. Then, from the darkness, a single sound breaks the stillness. A flute. The sapiens man is playing. Not loud, not grand, but a quiet, weaving melody that curls through the silence like a thread of wind. It is haunting. It is ancient, and it is something utterly, entirely new. You do not know what tomorrow will bring, whether the other groups will accept this peace, whether the herds will return, whether winter will be kind or cruel. But in this moment, surrounded by people, by firelight, by shared breath and shared hope, you feel certain of one thing. The story has already changed, and you are one of its authors. Time has passed. The seasons have turned once again, and summer has slipped quietly into the embrace of autumn. The sun no longer lingers so long in the sky, and the nights carry a tune that whispers of change. The trees that once stood lush and green now flare into shades of amber, gold, and rust before shedding their leaves like old memories. The cave, once alive with bustling activity, has settled into a slower rhythm. There is food, dried meats, smoked fish, stored roots. There are tools, better and more refined than ever before. There are shelters outside the main cave now, hides stretched over frames, small spaces for sleeping, for thinking, for solitude. The group has grown, not only in number, but in mind. Your hands, once coarse and untrained, now shape things with precision. You have learned the way clay behaves when it is dried near fire. You have learned the properties of fiber, the feel of sinew, the balance of a spear. You have learned to see through the eyes of another human being, one who looked like a stranger, but who revealed a mirror. The sapiens man remains. He does not lead, and he does not follow. He walks alongside. Sometimes he helps, sometimes he watches. Sometimes he disappears into the trees for days at a time, only to return with new seeds or new pigments or new ideas. He has not only given, he has learned. You've seen him use your hunting stance, mimic your speech, laugh at your stories. He copies a child's technique for splitting bone marrow, and marvels at how simple it is. He is no longer separate. He is woven in. The children born now do not distinguish between his ways and yours. They hold in their small hands tools from both traditions. They dance to rhythms that did not exist before this strange year. They speak in mixed tongues, a language without boundaries, fluid and alive. You watch them and feel something stir in your chest. Not pride exactly, not joy alone, but something